recovering drug addict and an alcoholic, a person in long-time recovery. I'm a survivor. When I first tasted alcohol, it did something different to my brain than it does to normal people. I remember that night of my first drunk as something special. I had been waiting all my life for this. Perhaps I was born an addict. I've run all my life, off and on. I ran as a kid in South Louisiana. I even ran a 5K during my last alcoholic bender. I don't recall the race, but I still have the t-shirt. I ran in my early recovery, a puffy and bloated mess. Today, I've lived over 10 years without a mind-altering drug or drink. Running is a big piece of my recovery. It's not something I depend on for my recovery. When I say recovery, I mean recovery from alcohol and drug abuse, or addiction rather. Running can't be the answer to my recovery. I'm gonna get injured, I'm gonna get hurt. The running might not always be there. It is good therapy, and I find that at these races, ultra long distances, there are many people like me there.
It's 100 miles, roughly. And how long do you have to run 100 miles?
So that's a good question. That describes what kind of race you're running. Because each race has a cutoff time period. We talked about Barkley. I don't know. You've got a lot of hours to finish Barkley, right? Because it's a really difficult race.
So if you're running 100 miles, I imagine there's a lot of misery involved with some of that.
It's a different kind of misery. You really need to consider the difference between discomfort and pain if you want to get through it. Discomfort is something that's very acceptable and temporary. At the start of 100, where a third of the people may make it to the finish line, and you don't know if you're going to be one of those people, and what you're going to encounter that day, either externally or internally, that you might be hopefully able to move through to get to the finish. When I was using it, I was always putting masks on. I didn't even want to know who I was. I didn't want to face who I was and those hard truths. When I'm out on mile 80, I've pulled off every possible mask that I might possibly wear. I'm getting down to the core of who I am. Running doesn't keep me sober. That's not how this works, but it does help me connect to that spiritual life, which keeps me sober.